part of the way we're going to do this is from my screen, I'm going to call out the panelists, and actually, no, we actually have a slide to go through. So without wasting time, but first of all, I would ask every panelist, when you see your profile up, just give a 1-minute introduction about yourself and why Agile is important to you. So Sylvie Alembong, please go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me today. As you all know, my name is Sylvie. I'm also Scrum Master for 6 years and also an Agile coach. I love Agile because Agile has done a lot in my life and other companies where I worked at as well. I've done a lot of impacting as in transitioning from waterfall to Agile. And I have done a tremendous job in making sure that I bring Agile into the house. So I'm really grateful for that.
So thanks, Sylvia. Some of you may not be aware, Sylvia and I actually do collaborate. She is a seasoned consultant. She connects to Africa and the rest of the world right from her home base in the United States. And without wasting time, thank you, Sylvia. I'd like Alex Bagudi to introduce yourself, and please tell us why Agile. What's important about Agile?
Hi, Daniel. A real pleasure to be here and join the other panelists. So yeah, Alex Bagidi. I'm originally from West Africa. I grew up in Senegal. My family's from Benin. Really attached to my African roots and based right now in Canada. Why Agile? 10 years ago, I started as a consultant in project management in IT and worked on a few projects that were struggling because they were innovative projects, complex projects, and we were trying to do it in a traditional manner. When I discovered Agile and the mindset and the practices, it just changed my life as a project manager and a product manager. So it's all about, bringing value, creating values, empowering the teams, focusing on really what matters. That's a different way of seeing projects and delivering projects. So that's why Agile. I'm really passionate about bringing the foundations, the right foundations in the teams, especially the ones starting in Agile, and dealing with anti-patterns, people thinking they're doing Agile the right way when they're not really. So yeah, that's what I like about what I do now, focusing on coaching and training right now. That's it.
Thanks so much, Alex. It's an honor and it's a pleasure connecting, with you, and also you, dialing in from Canada. We look forward to actually hearing some of those anti-patterns and things to watch out for. Without wasting time, a lady who is dear to the Agile Advisory Group, Nelly, she loves to be known. She also has a Nigerian name she'll tell you about, but she's actually a Kenyan management consultant, and I like actually the way I pronounce her name, Nolly Totti. So let me know if I've got it right. Nolly, please introduce yourself.
Thanks, Daniel. And it's a pleasure to be here with everybody, all the panelists as well as the attendees. My name is Nelly Thoithi, and my Nigerian name is Niniola. That's the name that I was baptized 4 years ago when I first moved to Nigeria for work. I'm a management consultant, and I have worked all across sub-Saharan Africa in different industries with different organizations of different sizes. And I'm also a certified Scrum Master. Why Agile? I truly have seen Agile work. Initially, it was a bit of a learning curve for me and kind of trying to get bought in, but I'm completely sold. I call myself an Agile nerd. I've seen it work with organizations in Nigeria, in South Africa that I've managed projects for. And so, yeah, I just really believe that it works, and I'm happy to be here. And I look forward to the discussion.
Thank you so much, Nelly. We look forward to having you, and thank you also for connecting. And Niola, right? It's the Nigerian version, so Nelly. Without wasting time, a friend of mine, a brother who is there, and also a coach who I actually personally have gotten to know over time. He's also my namesake because my Nigerian name is Femi. Without wasting time, Mr. Femi Odelusi, please introduce yourself and tell us, what is Agile to you? Why is it important?
Hi, good evening, everyone. Can you hear me clearly? Mic check.
We can.
Okay, Femi Odelusi here. I think my profile there is quite long, so I'm not going to go through everything because it's just going to take us too long. But the easy way for me to actually present myself this evening to everyone in Africa and the Middle East is that here I am. I'm a change agent. I'm a transformation agent. And I'm someone who just helps people to get things done within the organization. So that's just basically me. Why Agile? And what do I hope to achieve? Now, for me, Agile is a mindset. Now, my journey started off many, many years ago in the financial services world, and then in the traditional project management world. And then I used to get bored stiff of it. I used to just think that, is there no better way that things could get done? And then I discovered Agile, and that transformed my world. I'm on a mission. I'm on a mission to get other people to shift their mindset, to discover this better way of getting things done. Now, when I use the generic term getting things done, it could be IT, it could be human resources, it could be medical industry, pharmaceuticals, aerospace, mechanical engineering, you name it. Agile is very, very adaptable depending on the type of organization. So you need people like us, people on the panel here. We're here to help you, to actually show you how things get done. And I hope that we can answer a few questions for you throughout the course of this evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Femi. It's a pleasure and it's an honor having you there, change agents, so we're excited. Thank you so much for that time. I would love to introduce Andrea Allen, also who's, one of our Agile panelists, and she's also an Agile transformation coach and an innovator. We'll be keen to understand exactly from you, Andrea, why Agile and how do you see it in innovation space?
Okay, well, my name is Andrea Allen, coming all the way from Toronto. I've been on the journey of Agile for quite a while. Linked up with the Agile Advisor. So I'm really proud. I just want to say I'm proud and I'm glad to be able to join this panel because I've seen the Agile Advisor grow and I'm really happy for you guys. As far as Agile in the innovation space, I believe that it works on several different levels because you have that culture of safety, you have that culture of failing forward in a positive way to discover what is the next best thing or how do I take something old and make it something new. I think one of the best things that people can do when it comes to being agile, that if you cannot make an impact in your organization, agile is simplistic enough to make an impact in your life. You can literally agile your life and be successful at it. So when you take that and you bring it forth into an organization, you will see success all around in your personal life as well as through an enterprise. So even that in itself is being innovative because you'll take it upon yourself in order to improve and you can use agile methods to get there.
Thank you so much, Andrea. That is so amazing. She actually spoke something that was really dear to my heart, which is all about connecting Agile in our personal world. Believe it or not, even when I make a cup of tea, I try to actually bring Agile into it. Like, exactly when should I have the tea and how should I boil the water? When should I put the tea back? How do I iteratively improve my cup of tea, but interact with people also who have a cup of tea? So let me tell you that Agile is life, Without wasting time, Fadi is a friend I've come to know, I've grown to respect. He's also one of the very few people, and he'll explain why, in terms of, if anyone is familiar with the skilled Agile framework, Fadi will introduce himself. But without wasting time, Fadi, your journey has been all about Agile, and you used to live in the UK, you've traveled worldwide, globally. What is Agile to you? What is Agile to Fadi Ishmael?
Hello, everyone from Cairo. I'm just testing my voice. Everything is fine?
Fine. Okay.
That's Fadi Ismail from Cairo. I am a SAFE consultant. I am proudly a SAFE reviewer. So I'm considering the first Arab and African who reviewing SAFE for translation and for transferring knowledge. As you can see my bio, I have a motto, dance with the flow. This is answer your question, Daniel. It's all about dancing with the flow. Agile is about dancing. If you can see, I love dancing. All Africans love dancing. No one in Africa don't love dancing. That's why we love Agile. Back to me, yeah, I love to dance with the flow because the flow is always changing. And that's what makes Agile special, because we change as the flow change. We change in a nice way, in a way like we dancing. This is my bio. I have like 20 years experience between official hats and private sector hats. I witness a lot of changes when it comes to Agile. I'm happy to be with all of you. I am happy to be in Africa. I have done some quiet visits to most of African countries, which is I am really love and admire, and happy to be this wonderful panelist today.
Thank you, Fadi. A lot of people would not realize, but Fadi is also a doctor, so I tend to refer to him as Dr. Fadi Ismail.
No,
Time. Without wasting time, I'd love to go to, Abdoulaye Sao, who's also an amazing person. I got to meet Abdoulaye a couple of days ago, and we kind of, had a bit of connection. Abdoulaye, you are actually working in the consultancy space, and your journey from Agile would have gone through several iterations. Could you introduce yourself, apart from the slide, and, for consultants and for people there who are within the consultant space, what would be the one tip you would tell them from your experience about your growth and why Agile?
So thank you for giving me this opportunity to be here. Like he said, my name is Abdoulaye. I've worked in many of the consulting company, and back in Paris and now in Houston. So the main tip I would say is my understanding from going from consultant to Agile coach is the fact that consultant is just one part of being an Agile coach. So Agile coaching is about mentoring, it's about facilitating, it's about consulting, it's about coaching. And I guess the thing to keep in mind there is you need to wear all these hats plus the consultant part to be able to achieve successful transformation. But like everyone said, Agile is about mindsets. And what I love about it is the fact that it actually changed my world, not just in the professional way, but also becoming an Agile coach made me make some transformation on myself, which was really interesting to see.
Thank you so much for that. It's really a pleasure meeting you, and I look forward to actually having more sessions with you. Without wasting time, Pete, I guess it was a couple of months ago when we actually first spoke, and I know you're actually right now in Australia, but it's a pleasure meeting you again. I would just ask from your own perspective to introduce yourself, and you're one who understands complex challenges. Given the pandemic and given the world as it is today, how would you introduce yourself as an Agile consultant, and how would you introduce Agile in a complex world?
Thank you so much, Daniel. Can you hear me loud and clear?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I bring greetings from the Down Under, Australia. It's quite very early here today, but I'm very happy to join you. Well, Agile to me, especially in complex environment, it's really more like the one that brings the value, right? So in very complex environment, in novel environment, in the environments that you don't even know what to do, Agile can really be the pathfinder. So my experience has shown that when every other thing seems not to work, when everything seems to fail, Agile can give a level of value. And that is why we wrap everything around value. So as much value as you can see per time, as much value that you can actually feel, as much value that you have a high for, you have a high tendency, a high probability to achieve them. Well, Agile doesn't really promise that you are going to succeed. It doesn't say you are going to really accomplish the project, but it does come with a very good uh, promise. And the promise is all the impediments, all the issues that are going to block you will be brought to the surface as soon as possible. And guess what? If you attack the impediments, if you attack all the problems, you begin to hand value. And that is how we deliver value. We deliver things that matter in complex situation. And just to really add to that, I enjoy working in complex situations. So I don't do agile in the software industry. I started in the telecom space. I'm currently in energy. We deal with power, with energy, with gas. Talk about the NEPA of Nigeria or PHCN, and
Okay.
if you can do uh, what's it called? If you can do agile in those spaces, which is more like complex, we can do agile in practically everywhere. Practically everywhere. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pete. That was an honor and a pleasure. Thank you so much also to everyone. I would like to introduce our final panelist, somebody who is dear to me and also who I've gotten to know quite a while, Mr. Agbola Ogundeyin. I hope I got the name correctly, but please introduce yourself, Agbola, and I want you to actually, to a grassroots level and to people, who are starting their journey on Agile, what are you and how would you introduce Agile to, say, for instance, a person in a secondary school or in a high school or somebody who is just starting their journey, and why is Agile special to you? So you've got 1 minute to go ahead and do that.
All right, thank you very much, Daniel. I like the way you pronounce my name. Initially, it's Ogundeyin, but I'll forgive you on this occasion. So if I was going to go to the grassroots and explain what Agile is, it's pretty simple. Borrowing actually one of your words that I've actually owned right now, which is chaos engineering. I like the word chaos. So with a child, I would always have to look at the position they're in, and always go down to their level and understand how to help them turn whatever the situation is to something very, very simple. I.e., instead of you doing 1, 3, 5, and 7, let's try something else. Let's try 1, 5, 2, 4, and let's see what's going to come out. So it's always taking things to a very low level. Instead of I like to use another analogy. Instead of you taking a knife to a gunfight, you never do that with a child. You always want to understand the child in question. Then that will give you the set of tools to be able to either train, teach, coach the child in question. So just to keep it simple, from my perspective, Agile is all about continuous change, understanding of the mindset, most importantly. And the last thing is just being able to look at a situation, however chaotic it is, step back, find a set of options and attack. And that's it from me.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And my apologies also for getting the name wrong. Without wasting time, I would just want to go into a few things before we actually start our panelist session today. Today's is going to be the final series, and our focus right now is actually bringing back the context of Agile, the introduction. If you think about, the thread that has started from series 1 and up till today, it spoke about the foundations, it spoke about the challenges, it spoke about the constraints, especially adopting Agile in Africa and in the Middle East. And one of the key things that was spoken about was culture, challenge. There was also the fact about regional mindsets, where people basically have an understanding that in Africa and Middle East, there's a kind of top-down approach to leadership and to understanding how things are. There's also the constraints that people have in terms of, we've been so used to doing this way. Everybody has said things about Agile, but Agile doesn't work, So my first question as we go, this would actually be for Fadi, who's from the Middle East, and then I would expect Andrea to, see if you have some answers to that. What best approaches for adopting Agile and lean thinking would you recommend, especially in Africa and in the Middle East?
Well, that's a very nice question for a start. Okay, I'm a safe enthusiasm, so I may safe skilled agile framework, but actually it's not about the way you are adapting or a framework you're adapting to implement Agile. It's become what is Agile for you, how it could benefit yourself. So I would say, think first about the business agility. What do you need to achieve from Agile? So, for example, if you are speaking about startup, and usually we do startup a lot in Middle East and Africa, we found a lot of startups. Think about it. Okay, why I need Agile? What I need to achieve? And then frameworks just like skeletons. It's all about, okay, I can do 1, 2, 3. For me, think about the value. Think about how can you achieve your goals. Answering your question, Daniel, I would suggest first to knowing your value and then do framework that is achieved your value. You have SAFe, you have Scrum, whatever, but truly invest time in knowing what is your value and your value-driven products. For organization, it's the same because we all seek revenue. So what is the value that achieves this revenue? So that's it.
Oh, thank you so much. That is really very good. Achieving value and understanding exactly what it is and how we get there. So the frameworks shouldn't really matter. The frameworks are only just basically the tools, and it's basically brings us back to the very first principle of the Agile manifestos, valuing individuals and interactions are both processes and tools. Every framework actually is a process or a tool. So what we are talking about is how do we actually value the people who work and build the stuff, the people who are the customers, the value we as a business are having, and the value of us as individuals. Andrea, to what Fadi has said, what is value and how can you tie Agile to value?
Value, very interesting question, because for some people, value is waking up early in the morning. I'm just being honest. For some people, it's the big fish, right? It's let's get this car on the road. Let's make $1 million off of this thing. Let's hustle and bustle. So Fadi is right. You have to start defining, what does Agile mean for you? What does value mean to you? How do you envision? What is your vision towards this thing? When you asked the question initially, it immediately brought this picture to mind that I've actually employed, which is, so I grew up in a Caribbean household. For those that don't know, my parents are from Jamaica, but I grew up in Canada. And as you know, you never really lose your culture. My mother used to say to me, those who do not hear must feel, and it always meant a negative connotation. But when I started applying Agile and started meeting roadblocks with people turning Agile and even defining what is the value, why should we do these things, I realized that some people just need a little taste. How do we get these people to start adopting? Maybe it's something as simple as, let's do a daily stand-up. Then we show them just that little tiny taste that, you get more bees with sugar, they say, right? Then we start having those more in-depth conversations. Hey, you've had a taste of this. This is just but a little tiny bit of the iceberg. You like this? Well, guess what? What would you say if we can now add other things that you will like? So it's not just value of whatever the product or the process is, it's value in the actual implementation of Agile to get the value of your product or your process out there. Right. So yeah, those are the things that I've employed. I think those are some of the things that we can try to do in the Middle East and Africa, because we are dealing with a very particular mindset that makes them say no right at the very beginning.
Yeah, so just hold that thought. So Alex, I'm just going to come to you basically. So Fadi talked about, understanding exactly where you're coming from and where you want to go. And then, Andrea has basically spoken about the simplicity in understanding exactly how we derive value and what we achieve in value. So outcomes, and understanding exactly. But the challenge in Africa that we have and in the Middle East is basically the guidance and understanding exactly who will take responsibility and the accountability, or even start the initiative, behind what Fadi and, Andrea has said. So how would you recommend a best approach for an organization to pivot into lean thinking and into agile? I mean, I can give you examples, back in Africa, we used to have a lot of major organizations like, I can't remember the names, 11 T's and a few others that basically became outdated. But you also have in the UK and in the world, Woolworths and a few others. And now you've got people right now struggling to understand how we actually start. So what is your best approach for a new business, an old business, or an organization in Africa and in the Middle East looking to adopt Agile and lean thinking?
Thanks, Daniel. I really like what I heard earlier from Fadi and Andrea. My approach is start where you are. Essentially, start with what you have and identify your why. Why are you doing Agile? Where are you trying to get at? What does value mean to you in your context, based on your realities? When I'm starting a transformation in a company, I like to have what we call a guiding coalition. So it's that group of early adopters, the people who are, the nerds, the guys who are savvy and they really want to put this in place. Get that group of a few people and strategize. Try to find the right way, especially in Africa where culture is different and it's a lot of command and control. Find ways to influence without forcing it and do it subtly, progressively. Find ways to make work visible. Find ways to empower the teams and simply identify the bottlenecks and make things move forward. The earlier you get those quick wins, the earlier you can gain the trust of the teams and of the management, who eventually, like Andrea was saying, would want more and more eventually. So that would be my approach, progressively. And don't forget, train people. It's all about the mindset. The tools is one thing, but start with the being agile before you go and start doing agile. That's my take on this.
Lovely, lovely. Thank you so much for that. That is really powerful. So basically have the champions, the kind of people who will be leading the transformation, a guiding coalition, for change agents, enthusiasts, people who are kind of like, they want to know more. They want to see how to solve things. They're problem solvers. They're people who have identified, gaps in our systems for an opportunity. Abdullahi, I'm going to ask a question right now. What mistakes have you seen organizations make in implementing Agile? And what insights did you gain? So I don't know how many Agile, but we'll start with you and then, Femi, if you actually, because I know you also come from a very, varied experience. So first, Abdullahi, you've got 1 to 2 minutes to go ahead.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Daniel, can you ask the question again? I didn't hear it very well.
So what mistakes, have you seen organizations make in implementing Agile? And what insights did you gain, or what advice would you give to people starting this journey or already on this journey?
Okay, I think the most common mistake that I've seen is people understanding that Agile is just a new process that you need to apply, and you need to put, and you need to have people do, and not actually try to understand. And like Alex said, be agile, right? So first of all, the main thing that we'll try to help them understand is becoming agile is a journey, and then even when you are agile, your journey continues, because like someone, I think it was Fariu said that being agile is also about continuous improvement and continuous learning. So I guess one of the things that I will do with them is sit down, try to understand where we are right now, and just find some little improvement that can have interesting impacts, right? And then have them try that before changing the whole thing. And from there, we will keep improving, and at some point, maybe we will start. We have been starting doing Scrum or Safe or Kanban, but that's how I will do it.
Okay, thank you so much, Abdullahi. I was just going to bring this right now home. Femi, go ahead. You tell me.
Thank you.
So the same because
yes,
I know you said you've been in Agile for a long time, also. So in your experience,
yes,
how would you the insights you've gained over time,
Yeah.
Continue to change.
Okay.
And I said this right now because Fadi brought something. He's a skilled Agile consultant. When we started Agile, we had very basic Agile. We had Agile, Scrum, and Kanban. And now we've moved into, the kind of large, frameworks, and we've moved to organizations saying, well, the way we used to do Agile is not good enough, So based on your experience, what insights have you gained, and how would you actually advocate or recommend or suggest, that organizations, would adopt Agile, or implement Agile?
Okay, thank you very much for that. And first of all, I'd like to thank Abdullah for the point he made there about the common mistake with the Agile transformation as organizations not treating it as a journey. That was actually going to be my response as well. So it shows the alignment of purpose, alignment of thinking. Now, before I actually go into the insight, I'm just going to very, very briefly mention a second common mistake. And that is not having the buy-in of teams and other parts of the organization on board that journey. Now, the journey is actually critical. So we're going to keep mentioning that several times before the series runs out today. Now, to move on to your specific questions about the insights I've gained. Now, one thing that stands out is when there is no alignment of purpose for the teams, your Agile transformation will start to have hiccups. And I say hiccups because it will stutter. And when it carries on stuttering, it's a recipe for failure. The teams need to understand the why. I know we've just mentioned the why, but specifically the teams need to understand the why, i.e., how can they actually get on this journey and avoid grief? If the teams don't have that alignment of purpose, they would not support that journey. They would just constantly be disruptive. Secondly, and this is a human factor, a cultural factor, people are more supportive when they understand WIIFM. I'm pretty sure that most of us have heard that before. What's in it for me? As soon as people understand that actually this Agile journey is going to get me to my destination quicker, and me being part of a team means that if I get there quicker, my entire team also gets there quicker, then you eliminate fear. So people care more about what they're going to benefit from it, what their team will benefit from it, and how they can get to their destination quicker. Once they understand that, then your Agile journey is likely to be a lot more smoother. It's not going to be hassle-free, but you've got half of the problem solved. I hope that answers the question there.
Yeah, no, so thank you very, 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 very much, Femi. Pete, I've got, to just counteract this. So I'm going to play the devil's advocate because I've been coaching also for a while. Oftentimes, the teams end up being the ones who suffer and the leadership doesn't buy in. And so oftentimes also, whilst we're focusing on agility at the team level or the quickness, and the assumption is we need to go in delivering things faster, quicker, there's a lot of undue pressure that comes to the teams. And there's a lot of the lack. So based on the same question, what insights, have you gained in how to actually lead transformations? And, where would we start from implementing? So how do we even know if Agile was the right thing for our organization? Because we all said about start with the why.
Yeah, that's a very, very good scenario that you painted there. And just like Femi mentioned, and Abdullah as well. So it has to be a system thing, end-to-end thing. So for example, the question is all about the mistakes. So one of the mistakes I see leadership make, right, is they come to me and say, "Oh, I want to go Agile. What tools can I use? What software can I use?" And when you look at that, it's all about the wrong point where they're coming from. It doesn't matter how big or how small the transformation or the adoption of Agile is. If you start from there, there is a high tendency that the person leading it gets it wrong and it carries other people on the journey in the wrong direction. So the very first item on the Agile Manifesto says individuals and the interactions between them over processes and tools. It doesn't say the processes and the tools do not matter, but it says that the people that are going to get their hands dirty, right, and the collaboration between those people will actually take them on that journey, which suggests that starting with a tool, it's one major, mistake that people make. Now, the insight I've gotten over the years is, of course, when the EPO comes to you and say, "Oh, Pete, we're going on days. It's going to be 4 months project, and I want to be on top of it, deliver, or you feel like, oh, this is the EPO in the room." But at that, what have I done? What insight I've gathered over the years is to start. I'll go back to what Femi mentioned. Start with why. Now, why are we going about this? Why are we doing this? And then instead of starting with a tool, flip it and start with a mindset. Take them on the journey of a mindset shift. Well, culture is a very big thing, and I know you're very passionate about that, Daniel. But culture cannot be changed overnight. This is what people, organizations, individuals have believed in for a long period of time. But you can begin to make little tweaks here and there, here and there, here and there. And most, almost all of the deliveries that I am part of, I start with a mindset training, so to say. It's just it's just motivational talk of why are we doing this? What is the need for me? What is the need for you? You'll be the hero after 4 months of doing this. Everybody wants to be the man that wants to be celebrated. And you say, well, in the next 4 months, 6 months, will we arrive somewhere? It's that we arrive somewhere that we have really planned to be or where we don't want to be. How can we be in that journey? Asking yourself little questions every day. Questions like, what can I do today that will take my team towards the promised land? What can I do today that if I do, I would have added a little bit of value to the team? What can I do today that if I help Fadi, you will smile home? And you see, you are actually putting little bit of value here and there. And that is in a true sense of it is what Agile is. I remember the very first engagement I had with Agile Advisor. It was doing Agile and being Agile. So I'm talking about the being side of Agile this time around. So
Thank
that
you.
is yeah, that's what I just have to say. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. I've got so many other questions to ask, but you know what, Sylvie, I'm going to ask you a question, right? So everyone has said it's the mindset, it's the culture, it's, understanding individuals and interactions. One of the things I have come to realize in my experience, and I've seen also in most organizations, is people tend to pivot into Agile and then they fail. And they fail, where the anticipation was, oh, well, let's make the team agile. Well, let's make the leadership agile. And, and one of the things here, is that one of the values in Agile is customer collaboration over contract negotiation. It's like, whilst we value the things, the teams end up getting bogged down trying to do so much so quickly. Contracts are based on deadlines and milestones. The insights we get right now is that likely more than often is the contract would either be canned or, not doable any longer, because at the end of the day, people said, you said it was going to be happening in 4 months, but right now we've not achieved 4 months. So based on this same experience, what insights can you give, in terms of, is even Agile right for you? Should organizations, are we doing away with project management? Let's start with that. Does Agile replace project management? Does Agile replace, project cost accounting? Does Agile replace, the culture in the mindset of how we work? Because one of the things that we've seen right now is most organizations tend not to have empathy. They tend not to actually have the opportunity to allow people to fail forward, if I would put it that way, or have feedback. So how would you say, that Agile, can be implemented in organizations, for instance, who already are doing well, but then don't quite like failure?
Well, for that concept, a lot of company, I just want to pivot back. A lot of company use the buzzword agile. They use it as, oh, we're going agile. Leadership said, yeah, just throw them in there in a boat and let them drive themselves. So how would you know that agile isn't right for a company is when leadership leaves everything down to the teams. When you want to go agile, you need to first of all know the right skill sets of the individuals. You need to build the teams to be self-organizing teams, cross-functional teams. The next step is, okay, do we start from the pyramid? Pyramid means, do we start from the leadership so that they can get the training that they need? But just because leadership here along the company doing agile, that's when they come in and say, oh yeah, we're going to go agile. Just like the teams themselves, they're going to ask, just like what Femi said, what's in for me? They're going to ask those questions. And when companies or teams started thinking that way, that, oh, we're not fully agile, this is not right for us, this isn't working, it's because they do not have the mindset. They did not have the right training. They did not have the right coaching. Whoever that came to the company to do the coaching for them failed. They didn't stay longer. They didn't give them a deeper understanding of, if the team fails, it's okay. Sometimes it's okay for the team to fail. Do we have a scrum master who's going to be there to guide the teams to have an everyday Bible of the scrum values and the principle? Because that's what the foundation of Agile is. Are we teaching them the right way of working? And when your company is doing Scrum, there's adaptation. Adaptation comes in if something changes in the project. We have to pivot and we have to go in a different direction to see if that works. We have to stay inspecting how far are we in the project. If we are saying that we're giving deadlines, we need to be committed to that deadline, which is when we need to have team members who are committed into the team. Even if they deliver or if they don't deliver, they need to understand that it's acceptable, which is when we have one of the ceremonies, retrospective. In retrospective, we need to inspect ourselves and we need to adapt to the changes. It's a long process. In becoming agile, it's not going to happen overnight. It's just like having someone being an athlete. They don't just wake up one day and say, oh, I want to be an athlete. I want to run a marathon for 10 miles or maybe 15 miles. It takes them quite a while for them to get to where they are today, which is when a lot of leadership just throw in the buzzwords, leave it up to the team, and the team just fails. And when you bring in a scrum master who is going to be the coach, facilitator, whatever you want to call it, it's going to create a lot of chaos, because when the scrum master comes into the company, they don't know where to start, because everything has been let down to the team, and the team don't even want to listen to the scrum master. So it's really good for the company to invest the time, get the right coach. Even if the coach has to be here for 1 year, get the coach to do their job. Because even now you have scrum masters like myself. I have gone to a company where it was fully waterfall, and I was amazing how it took them 1 year to be fully agile. And before I left, they started practicing it. They started seeing results. And the key thing too is when they see that they're doing well, they will want more. So you have to coach them. When you coach them about the daily stand-up, you have to implement it very slowly. Come into the room, everyone stands up, your mirror. Yeah. So once you give them that, they're going to want more. And if they fail, just keep coaching them.
Okay, thanks, Sylvie. So without wasting time, I'm actually going to ask Nelly and Niola a question, and then I would piggyback, to somebody else to support this. one of the things that I've come to realize, right, which, you know, Sylvie just spoke about is, you know, teams doing Agile by name, but not really by practice, you know. And oftentimes people tend to try and do Agile with non-Agile teams, you know. So for instance, I'll give you an example. Hardware teams, for instance, you know, people who build computer hardware, you know, they basically are just looking at components and then the delivery, or actually people who build roads or people who build dams, you know. Could you do Agile in construction or with non-Agile teams? You know, how do you work with non-Agile teams and with a non-Agile culture or a non-Agile organization?
Mm-hmm. I think that's a really relevant question. And it's funny that you give the example of construction, because it's one that I've always thought could not be Agile. But I actually think that you can be Agile. I mean, there's definitely some trade-offs to be made, but you know, you could have block A built first and kind of learn from that, and then have incremental value and so on before you finish the project. But I digress. So how do you work with non-Agile teams? I think, so it depends on who they are. If they're the customer, then I think it's important to, and customer could be anyone, right? It could be maybe you're an IT function and your customer is different business functions, or maybe it's actually a paying customer. Then I think it's important to bring them into different events or ceremonies. So some of the prioritization discussions, you should bring them in there, including crafting of the user stories. You should try and bring them in there. I think another place that you can bring them in is actually just the stand-up, the daily stand-up, you know, have them join and see how efficient it is to raise any impediments and make work visible, and kind of give them a taste of what Agile is. And I think the other thing, how to work with non-Agile teams, especially if they're the customer, is to let them, to ensure customer satisfaction in whatever it is you're delivering, and let them know that that is kind of a product of Agile. Then they'll know, okay, I'm happy with whatever you're delivering to me, and it's because of Agile. Actually, I want to learn more. So as somebody else said, it's always what's in it for me, or, you know, how can I, just human nature is very selfish. And so if you can kind of tap into that and make people want a taste of Agile, then that's kind of how you can bring in non-Agile teams. I think another one as well is making them part of, not necessarily the developmental team, but, you know, we talk about having cross-functional teams. So bringing them in for input, even in the developmental process. I think as well in the sprint review, you can also have them there. You know, it doesn't just have to be the bosses or your product owner. You can bring in non-Agile teams there as well. And it'll do two things. It'll make them get a taste of Agile, and it'll also help them feel involved, as we talk about customer collaboration being one of the 4 elements of the Agile manifesto.
Thank you very much, Nelly. That was very beautiful. Well, just tying back to Nelly's question, you know, she spoke about, you know, bringing them in. Now, as part of Scrum, right, we understand by the time you actually start introducing leaders and others into the team, it introduces noise in a way, you know. So how do we avoid the noise within an Agile team? But also, how do we work with non-Agile teams, say, for instance, who are not actually core, but actually feedback based on what Nelly has said, an example. And I'll give you another classic example. In the heavily regulated environments, where there's legislation, you know, that actually has to do with the culture and the perception of how we build and work together in teams, you know. So how do we do that, you know? And what is it that we tend to want to do? So I can see basically what would you recommend, you know, us doing in terms of agility?
Okay, thanks for that question. Yeah, there's a lot happening in that question, but if I was just going to sort of split it into my understanding of the different journeys involved there, obviously the first factor you need to think about is how are you going to form this team? What kind of structures are you going to put in? What type of collaborative perspectives? Obviously, at the beginning of any team, you know, you have the Topman's rules or the Topman's model. They have to go through that. There has to be noise, because if there's no noise, how are you going to have a formative approach? I think that is one of the foundations of going into Agile. You have to go through that, you know, storming phase where, you know, I don't like the guy who sits next to me because he's always on his phone. And the guy might be on his phone because he has a pregnant wife, but he hasn't discussed that with you. Or the guy next to me is always texting. You know, there's so many low-level details that can happen in those kind of journeys where one needs to go through that initial stage. And obviously that graduates to, you know, different layers. But after a while, it's all about what kind of self-organizing methods, as depending on what your role is. If you're a coach, then you either want to come in at the storming stage to understand everybody individually and find a common ground to help them understand why it is. But obviously, if you're sitting within a Scrum Master level, or depending on your role again, you want to give the team an opportunity to self-organize, fast changing. You want to look at how you can bring in different kind of models. I'll give you an example. There was a session I went into recently, and the session was about collaborating online. But what happened was the chap in question didn't give us any rules, and he put us into diverse rooms. Then we started questioning ourselves, what is he thinking we should do? And somebody just suggested, well, why don't we try this? By the time we came back into the room in question that the course was taking place in, we found out that that is exactly what needed to be done. So I guess there's that perspective where you have to sort of guide the team. You have to, the noise is necessary. Those opportunities are, sorry, Daniel, do you?
I was listening to you.
Okay. So I guess all of those perspectives are really, really important within that initial stages of team building. I hope that answers your question.
Yes. So I'm going to come back, and this is a question I'm going to ask, you know, Fadi, and probably I would want, you know, Alex, both of you to brainstorm on this. Now, one of the things we know is the pitch that, you know, agile consultants tend to give, and people who are in agile, saying your organization or, you know, your business needs to, you know, transform into being agile. I'm going to bring it back home, and I'm going to be as real as I can be. I grew up in northern Nigeria in Africa, and one of the things about agile is having co-located teams, you know, but then that is very difficult to achieve, especially in certain countries where the regulation and the religion, as I would put it, and some other factors may feed into the culture of agile transformation. You know, so let's bring it home and let's bring it real. You know, not every country in Africa is already developed. Not every country in Africa and in the Middle East is ready for an agile transformation. How do you basically take agile transformation into territories and regions whereby the culture is likely driven by religion, by other factors, such as regulatory factors? For instance, men cannot sit in the same room and work together with women. There are other things that may be considered in terms of we can't even work on the same platform, you know, based on the regulation. And this is culture. This is who we are, because as, you know, whether we're in the Middle East or anything, of that is the culture, and we have to honor it. So if Agile is about culture and a mindset of the ways of working, how would you recommend we transform?
Okay, thank you, Daniel. Actually, I'm doing this with a very famous philosophy. Its origin from Africa, and I see it's we all know it. It's Ubuntu. I'm quite sure we all know Ubuntu, and I was surprisingly noticed that one of famous basketball coaches in the Netflix series speaking about it, and speaking how he deployed Ubuntu in his team to win the NBA It's about all for one and one for all. So different mindsets, I can understand, different cultures, I can understand, and even different backgrounds, I can understand, but the essence of Agile, which I am using it in my recipe, is an Ubuntu. It's all for one and one for all. So back to your question about transformation. If you are going to transform team with different cultures, you need to work first about the essence of the team. So you as a team work together, not throwing the ball or just throwing the monkey to each others. How can we do so? We do so through Ubuntu. So yeah, I'm always telling guys, okay, our Agile is coming from our African philosophy. It's all for one and one for all. So if you can example some kind of legalization, some countries can work with frame and work. So you can divide it to the rest of the team because they will happy to do so because they understand each other as a team. They work with each other as a team. So the key point here is not dealing with the team as an individuals, but dealing with the team as a team. So if you're going to transform, first, I'm advising every coach have Ubuntu, read about Ubuntu. It's not about only what is it for me, because we all do this, but as well, how can you develop the sense of team? And then let the magic happen. Let everyone in the team help each other to achieve the result. So transformation is about the team. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I love that opportunity. Alex, just before you come, so I mean, from what Patty is saying, is basically all for one, one for all. I just used to love, I can't remember what series it was, but basically, I think it was the Three Musketeers. And in Agile, we have the Three Musketeers, all for one, one for all, But then, when you bring in all for one, one for all mentality, and you're trying to take them into transformation, oftentimes people are scared. And people are afraid to take that leap.
Yes, and that's what makes you a good coach, Daniel, because we all have scared. We all have our babies to food. We all have our families, our needs. So you develop this sense with the help of the team. And of course, you will be like a shield for the management and targets and failures. That will make a lot of difference. It takes time, but it works.
Yeah. Oh, thanks, Patty. Thanks. So yeah, thanks for that. And still same on the same mindset. Alex, this is basically for you. Where I was gonna say, apart from it takes time and it takes effort, just like Patty has said, there is the risk involved. There is the opportunity enablement involved, likely, but there's also the uncertainty that we do not know, So how would you recommend, especially right now in the world where we're working, with distributed geographical teams, how would you recommend transformation, I mean, I can't physically travel to Africa right now to go and say, I'm going to start a transformation. So how would you actually work in this way? And what would be a starting point? What does transformation look like? Or what does, business change look like from that point of view? And then once you answer that, I'm just going to be prepping up for, Femi and Nelly, I've got a question coming for you. So just get ready.
Yeah, thanks, Daniel. I like to take it back always to the values and principles of Agile. At the end of the day, I mean, there is a manifesto, there is a way of starting these things. In the context of Africa, where it's really complex and you have religious aspects, you have the cultural aspects, you cannot start a transformation the same way you would do it in more modern or in Europe or Africa. You have to be patient, you have to be strategic, and you have to have the right people leading those transformations. If you have a leader who is all about, I don't know, delivering faster, having the right metrics like velocity, and focusing on the things that are maybe not really empowering the teams, maybe it's not the right start for your transformation. So start with the right people leading that transformation and influencing those. In the context, for your second question, in context of distributed teams, it's hard to keep that face-to-face communication when you're not in the same environment, especially nowadays with COVID happening. I'm living it myself as a coach. I'm coaching people, remotely. Empathy, I think, is really important. You don't know, and I love what Agbola was mentioning earlier, you don't know what that person you're talking to have been through, and why he is mad or why he's sad. So keep that in mind, keep that empathy aspect when you are, leading a transformation or dealing with a team that is remote. Be patient. Be patient with them. Try to understand that, okay, there is a baby crying next to them. You don't know these things. So I think those soft skills are even more important in the context of distributed teams. So we got to keep that in mind as Agile practitioners in those contexts. I think that's my take on it.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Alex. Femi, this in continuation about empathy, continuation as to patience.
Yes.
We're now working remotely, and we may be working remotely till 2021. It is a sad reality, but it is the reality of where the world is right now.
Yes.
People tend to actually work remotely, but yet one of the principles in the Agile Manifesto is face-to-face collaboration is an effective measure of, progress and, teams. And just like Alex said, you never know what people have. We all use virtual backgrounds. But then also, in a cyber world, working from home also can be seen as an intrusion on someone's privacy. So does face-to-face still apply from the Agile Manifesto? And if not, how would you recommend teams working? Because yes, patience, empathy, psychological safety, but building also, the mental awareness is part of that journey. This is Mental Week here in London, in the UK, and across the world, the Global Mental Week. But it is hard. And you're asking me to turn on my camera to come on and be collaborating with you in a world, but you don't know what I've been through. So how would you recommend and how would you suggest an agile transformation through teams who are working remotely in a distributed geographic locations?
Thank you very much for that excellent question, Daniel, and for all my fellow participants as well, and for that matter, everyone viewing wherever they are remotely across the face of the world. Now, in a way, that answers part of the question, doesn't it? Yeah, we're all distributed now. We're all virtual. Some people haven't got their cameras turned on. So they maintain communication with us. They can hear us. They can follow our dialogue. They might have questions, but we can't see them. We can't observe their body language. We can't observe what's happening with them. Now, I want to take us back one step. First of all, when we talk about working with geographically distributed teams, we're not just talking about people's location. She might be in California. He might be in Adelaide. We're talking about language differences. We're talking about thought process differences. We're talking about emotional space differences. Now, one of the fundamental aspects when we're working with remote teams, whether they're geographically remote or physically remote, because someone might be next door to you and still be remote. We have got to take on board diversity and equality. And we've got to build these two and make sure that all the chances and opportunities that are offered are equal across the board. Yes, we may not be able to see them. And yes, there may be circumstances that prevent them from visualizing themselves to us. But we should not now discount that fact and treat them any less differently. So that's on the one hand. On the other hand, we can't see them. On that note, we can't observe what's going on with them. We can't have global listening with them. We don't have an awareness of how, their demeanor is coming across. If someone looks downcast when you can see them on the video, you can stop your conversation and try and empathize with them to find out what's going on with them by prompting questions, by just tapping into them. But if you can't see that, then you're stuck. Now, the solution to it really is, as long as you've got verbal communication as a starting point, that's a good enough starting point. In Agile, we don't have to have everything perfect. Sometimes good enough is sufficient to start. And we can leverage on that and build on that.
Thank you very much. I just basically, sorry to cut you in. I'm just trying to make sure we go through a lot of the other questions, But yes, so you just said sometimes, we don't have to be perfect. Nelly, oftentimes leadership basically plays a vital role, in how an agile transformation should grow. And there's certain responsibilities. And to Femi's point, there's often the conversation that, the teams have to be perfect, or they have to be fully well organized, or they all have to be trained. We've heard some coaches say that. We've heard some people even on the panel saying this. If I'm starting right now and trying to actually get an agile team, what roles, what do leadership, do? I mean, what roles do leaders have? What roles and responsibilities do they have within an agile team or within an agile transformation?
So I think it depends on where the team is in the journey. But if we're talking about very early on, and all of these roles and responsibilities don't have to live in a single person. They could be different people playing different roles. So I think for early adopters in particular, an agile coach is really important if you can invest in one, just to show you the ropes and kind of handhold. And when you go through the storming phase, they'll tell you that it's all right. I think that's really important. I think from a change journey and organizational buy-in perspective, having executive sponsorship is really important at any stage of your journey. So there's lots of different, Scrum leadership certifications and all sorts of different leadership certifications that, if available to the organization, I think that can help with executive buy-in and kind of it translates down. And then just in the day-to-day, having a really good Scrum Master and product owner, and I'm speaking to Scrum because that's the framework that I'm familiar with, but I'm sure in other frameworks, there's similar roles and responsibilities. So I think different people play different roles, and also depending on where you are in your journey, you might need more support than, if you're already kind of a well-oiled agile machine.
Okay. That's really good. So it's kind of understanding, where they are.
Mm-hmm.
But
as I think we've said that's been like a common thread, I think, in our discussion today. Yeah.
I've noticed that, and which is often fundamentally lacking with most leadership. It's coming down to the level of the teams, but also empathizing with the teams, at that level. Pitt, do you want to just go ahead and add to what Nelly has said, because she's given some really good things, like how do people, feel leaders should act and be part of that transformation? Because I hear it every day. Currently I'm going through a transformation myself, where in the end it was like, oh, if only the leaders listened, if only the leaders heard us, if only the leaders, the leaders said to do this, but they're not part of it. So what would you say? 1 minute, please.
Okay, cool. I agree with you, Nelly, 100%. But just to add to that, because of time, I would say, that we definitely need the leaders buy-in in transformation. And to achieve that, we need to really communicate. There are three rules: communicate with them, and communicate with them, collaborate with them. That's just the rule. Yeah. So again, there is something I tried to do. There is always a new way of leading. new ways of leading, because everything is around culture. How have they been leading the teams before now? There is a way of taking one step at a time. Just like transformation cannot have happen overnight, new ways of leading can also happen overnight. So little by little, collaborate with them, show them value. Let it start from the leadership. How are they strategically planning for the quarter? How are they strategically planning for the year? How are they prioritizing at that level? If they are not, that is an opportunity to take them on that journey. And so it's more like waterfall, right? It comes from the top and goes down, right? And if they are doing the right thing at the top, of course, the people are the people on ground will also see value in that. And of course, they can also empathize with the leadership that, well, they are doing a good job. They are not there yet, but someday we're going to be on the same level. So, yep, I'll say work with them as well, especially coaches.
Much, yeah. So okay, I've got basically Andrea. If you can add to this, but I'm gonna throw a spanner in the woodworks right now, which is basically always what happens. Oftentimes we know, like, I mean, I've dealt with playing with my kids and nieces and nephews, and oftentimes things tend to be very difficult. You tell them not to do things, and then that's when they want to do things. You tell them how to do things, and that's when they don't want to do things, which is very often in an agile environment. We say don't do this, but that's actually the time everybody's doing this. And oftentimes leaders basically tend to be very prescriptive. It actually even becomes harder when you bring it back home to Africa and the Middle East. We basically tell them, and I'm going to say this, in all honesty, with no disrespect to any African country, but just the reality of what it is right now on ground. If I am asking my teams to dial in and come into a stand-up, but then, as they say in Nigeria, NEPA don't take light, so I could not dial in. Oga, sorry, you asked me to be agile. My generator no get fuel, petrol no day. So all of a sudden, I know if you dial in for the stand-up or for the daily sprints. How would you recommend people, in terms of leadership? I know we spoke about empathy, but this is Africa and the Middle East.
That's a very loaded question.
People, to participate in remotes and things like that. So
right.
What would your advice be?
Okay. There's several things that you can do, quite frankly. But in the end of the day, it's going to boil down to the value. So I'll give you some practical examples that happened here in Canada, believe it or not. So COVID hit, we're all distributed. We're all supposed to be doing our daily stand-up. Then a storm hit and power went out to a bunch of people. Because they saw the value in reporting to themselves and not to me and not to the leadership, the minute that they were able to, they actually emailed in their daily reports or their daily updates, just to make sure that the thing was still going on, that, hey, we're still coordinating in a different way. For them, it surprised me. I'm going to be very frank. It surprised me. These are people that don't have power right now. They're worried about what's going on in their fridge, what meat is going to get spoiled. Maybe they're in the middle of washing clothes, and because we're all home with our kids, right? Things are not getting done. And needless to say, their work is not getting done because you have no internet, you have no power. The fact that the minute that they were able to, that they went above and beyond to even report in, just showed me how integral it was for them to have that agile mindset. It boils back down to the seed. I'm coming from an organization, I just recently changed my job, but I'm coming from an organization that we talked about agile, people went through the training, it became a buzzword, all that kind of stuff, but they never truly practiced or experienced agile transformation until COVID hit. All those things they heard about, all those things that they saw other people doing, they were now putting into practice. So people can look at COVID as, oh my gosh, it's a pandemic, I can't go outside, I have to wear a mask, blah, 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 blah. But really, it's a blessing in disguise for this journey. So when you're talking about Africa and, you know, I have to turn on my camera and all that kind of stuff, be open to alternate ways of communicating. They will get there. Find out what's best for you. You know, people are, I have people that are like, oh my God, we have to have a daily stand-up every day. But do you really? Is it enough to have it 3 days out of the week or twice a week? Does it like, and can we make concessions here? Let it, you know, our panelists are very wide and varied. So you'll hear those words repeating. Start where you are. Let's figure out what works for us. I think we need to stop having preconceived notions and ideas what leadership wants and what they are, and maybe start negotiating in a respectful way based on the culture. You know, I recognize it's a culture that is very, very much a bottleneck by design because someone gave you a large title. Yeah, that's just the truth of it, right? But then how do you change that mindset? It's those little tiny things. You have to be the vinegar in the water. It sounds counterproductive. Nobody wants to drink vinegar in the water, but you as the Agile coach, you as the Scrum Master, be the vinegar in the water to implement change, be the chaos. It was said earlier, right? So do you have to have your camera on? Maybe not. Can you give your update later? Probably, but get them to see the value in coordinating so that they will streamline, so you don't have those habitual, I'm not giving my update till 3 p.m., which is way too late in the day for anyone to coordinate for anything.
I actually just love how you've put it that way. You know, I think we could actually edit and call it tonight, but no, I've got no, but it's so true, and it brings me, you know, back. So I'm just gonna, you know, I believe it was Abdullahi who had something to say on this topic. But before you come, you know, Abdullahi, one of the things that, you know, Andrea spoke about is, do we actually have to have a daily stand-up, you know, every day? Because if we're speaking about the Agile values, individuals and interactions over processes and tools, doing it daily may be a process. However, the individual and the interactivity that we have in the interactions will be, let's have a stand-up every other day. But it's a little increment, you know, it's an opportunity. But then also there are people who are Agile purists, and they go, oh no, you're not doing Agile. My gosh, you are so wagiling or waterfalling or Kanban-giling or everything. So I'm going to bring it back down to your level, you know. What is the role of leadership sometimes in because you also work for a consultancy company, you know, and then once you've done, I'm just going to do a round robin, and I'm going to ask each coach a question, so get ready. But go ahead, Abdullahi, 1 minute.
All right. Can I just start by jumping in? Do we need a daily meeting every day? Just to start by that, so what I like to do is to think of these as tools or means to achieve something. And the purpose of the daily meeting is to make sure that we are synchronized and we are going towards our goal. So if the teams find different ways to coordinate and make sure that they are aware of things and where there are bottlenecks, so they can react on it, I don't think we need that daily meeting every day. And then again, we are talking about tools and processes, and what Agile says is interaction in individual and interaction over process and tools. And the way I read it is basically tools and processes here to serve at the service of individual and interaction. So that's how I read it. Now, going back to the role of the leadership in an Agile transformation, the reason I like this question is because I've been through one of the situations where they told me to come and help team become Agile, like they do in most companies. And then the leadership was just expecting them to perform and stay back. So one of the things that we went through is what's your impact and what are you going to do to help them? And for them, it was like, no, you are the Agile coach and you are supposed to help them. So I had to help them understand how we're going to navigate through this transformation and how they're going to impact And the most important thing was they need to be there at the first beginning. And the first thing we started working on was the vision. So the vision is the why. Why? I think some of the panelists said it, but why are we doing this transformation? And talk to the people who are going to be doing the transformation and help them understand that the teams and the people who are part of it with the leadership are the people who are going to do the change. It's not the agile coach who is going to do the change. No, we are here to help them. So that was the first thing. The second thing was to invite those people into that transformation and understand that the leadership is here to support them and give them whatever means, whatever resource they need to achieve what they're trying to do. And the third one that I liked a lot, and I saw one of the managers do, was one time. So we were speaking, and I told him that people are afraid, and they're afraid of doing mistakes because they're not used to it. And we're in Agile, we're telling them that it's okay to, it's okay to do mistakes as long as you learn from it. And the manager decided actually to go and to share with the team something that he did, one of the mistakes that he did, and what was the learning that he gained from that, and how he's doing things now. And that was really brilliant because he actually transformed the team in somehow, like, now it's okay. We can actually learn from whatever we're doing. And this is actually how we're going to go towards what you're trying to achieve. But yeah, so that's my insight.
I just so love that, and so just to be clear, because I can see basically also on my panelist feed, when I speak about purists and I speak about leadership, right? One of the key things is it's always hard for leaders to actually have the time because there's a dollar value on leadership and on stakeholders. And they trying to come into a daily meeting sometimes is not value for them. And that's basically where, when we're bringing in Agile and we're asking people to meet on a daily basis, I'm not going to ask the boss of, Facebook, or Uber to come on a daily meeting every day because I want to have a stand up with him. So basically, there are different levels within the teams. And in Agile, we think about, transformation at the 5 levels: the vision, the initiative, the global vision. How often do we meet? How do we initiate change? How do we collaborate? Then the roadmap, the tools that actually, how do we get there? Then think about the release, the time boundaries, or say if we call it the PI planning windows, every time. And then the opportunities where you now have basically the sprints. What are we sprinting towards? How are we iterating? And then the actual daily stand-up. How are the teams communicating towards delivering agility? So there are different frequencies and cadences and synchronizations of meetings that you would have depending on the level of engagement and of the stakeholders in the context of Agile. So just for our audiences to be clear, we speak about, having these different levels, but these different meetings. One of the things I'm going to ask right now as we begin to wrap up, is I'm going to ask this as a round robin to all the coaches, and starting with you, Sylvie, 30 minutes and 30 seconds. What one advice, would you give to a new Agile team?
I think I was speaking on mute. So one of the advice, I would tell them, stay positive during setbacks because they're always going to be setbacks. Have a plan B when you know that things are not going to be as it's supposed to be planned. Always keep the team motivated and being open to criticism and have fun while working.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. So have a positive mindset and always keep motivating and being motivated and inspirational. Agbola, just, what would you give? One advice?
I can't say it enough, and it was said already. Start where you are. I mean, when I heard that, that was like it's end of discussion, really. There's no big deal about Agile, realistically. Like we've said, it's all about the mindset. And sadly, or fortunately, or unfortunately, some of us might be locked into a particular type of mindset. And it's all about changing, not necessarily doing something different, but doing something differently. That's really my submission here. Start where you are.
I like that. So I'm going to come to you, Alex. What would your advice be?
Yeah, I would ask those teams to focus on 3 values mainly. Courage, respect, openness. Have the courage to talk to each other about the real things. What is really, where is the pain? Talk about those things. Have respect about each other, respect about your values, your own personal values, and talk about it. We have different religions, different cultures, different backgrounds. Keep that in mind. Respect and openness. Open to new ways of working, new ways of collaborating, new approaches. So courage, respect, openness. And one last thing, if the organization can focus and find ways to train the leaders on the agile mindset, that helps too. That's it.
Yeah. I actually love that. Respect, openness, transparency, and then, just stay positive. What I've come to see as a common thread in our conversations today is all about building relationships. Agile is all about building relationships, and the relationships are all focused around a goal as to, the vision and the how, the why. Now, I'm going to ask a question right now, before I actually go ahead. A few more people, if you actually want to add to this, one word in which you would say, can I just go ahead? Nelly, what would your one word be to a new Agile team? And then after that, Fadi, and then Abdul.
I think for me, it would be to start small. And what I found useful with new teams is picking one thing in the Agile manifesto and sticking to it for, they say it takes 30 days to build a habit. So pick one thing, just commit to it, let it be your mantra, post it somewhere on your laptop and at your desk and just try to come back to it. And then with time, you'll just build that muscle and have the mindset shift.
I like that. So don't try and do everything all at once in the Agile manifesto, the Agile principles.
It'll fail.
3 days. There are actually 12 principles there. If we do one for every month, at the end of 1 year, we are actually doing the whole principles, Abdullahi, yes, go ahead and tell me your one word.
Yes, so my word would be that when we have a new team, usually we have individuals, a sum of individuals, and the idea is to become a team. So one thing that can help to get there is learn from each other and learn about each other. Because when we are in a team, we talked about empathy, and empathy goes with that. We need to learn from our teammates, understand what are the contexts and what's their background in the culture, in the tradition. So yeah.
Nice. Thank you very much. Fadi, you?
Okay. I have 2 words. First, for the leader, lead by example. Be the one who is gonna to apply Agile. I like what you say, Daniel, about safe and how it works. So my words for leaders: be the example, lead by example, don't punish. And for the teams, it is, as Nelly said, it's bit by bit. You can have the Agile teams, just have transparency, alignment, keep quality on an eye, build your team and your products on quality. And the final thing, which is we all care about, execution. Go for execution. You will get it by bit, you will learn, and you will move forward to the next learning phase.
Nice. Thank you very much. I just love that, lead by example, but I would also recommend, just to add to that also, celebrate one another. So celebrate. Yeah, celebrate.
Daniel, what I really, and I know panelists agree with me, we take care about frameworks and daily stand-ups and a lot of events and a lot of things, but we miss to be aligned and to have this teamwork together,
Yeah, very true. Very true. And that's the thing. A lot of times, a lot of people get bogged down in frameworks and in, processes and in daily stand-ups and Scrum and everything. But the little increments, in change require us being able to appreciate baby steps, And I always think of the stories, because I love storytelling. The story of a toddler. A toddler doesn't learn to automatically walk. He first of all starts with, okay, I want to roll on my stomach. Okay, yeah. So that's the 1 month Nelly was talking about. You know, basically, let's just try doing something for 1 month, but in the end, we're dangling left or right. You know, we're not actually doing effective daily stand-ups, but we're starting somewhere. We are not where we used to be, but we're starting somewhere. And then now say exactly, okay, how can we improve on that? You know, because that's where your retrospectives come from, and that's where the improvement comes from, the inspect and adapt. So little changes make room for big impacts. The outcome in agility is all about the why, the how, and the when, and seeing exactly how we bring everyone into those little baby steps until the end. You now say, can you believe how we are? 5 years ago, we didn't think we would have started here. The pandemic made things visible. Conversations like, you know, being on the future of Agile and in Africa and the Middle East allowed us to see a different perspective as to how we can work and collaborate. So, Fadi, you wanted to add one more thing, and I'm just going to go into the last two questions we have for tonight.
Yeah, one thing I like as a toddler, and I would tell this is because he's safe environment. The toddler is never fear of being criticized by anyone. He is falling down and getting up with a smile. So for leaders, don't make this environment harsh for your teams. Think about your toddlers, safe environment.
I love that, you know, build that psychological safety. Think about the fact that, you know, a child feels safe at home because of the environment he is. So let's create the environment for people to succeed and to learn to start moving, then crawling, then, you know, standing up, then actually failing, falling down. You know, they do. I mean, I just love basically how you see, you know, my little son would just basically pick himself up and then drop on the bomb. And then next thing he's trying to reach for cables and everything. And that's the reality, you know, of how kids grow. But that also is the reality of how we simplify an agile transformation and how leaders should think in terms of a growth mindset. Where am I right now? The babies are actually on the Cerelac and on the milk of what is agile. And then they now go into the kind of, you know, conflicts. And then from there, they now go into the raw meat, you know, and understanding exactly of, you know, what's agile. I'm going to ask this quick question, you know, and what are the recent trends you can recommend in Agile? You know, a lot of people talk about Scrum, they talk about less and everything, but I don't know who wants to take this question. It's going to be an open question, interactive. All right, Femi, you want to go first?
Yes. So what are some of the recent trends in agile development? In the good old days, where back in the days you'd have IT and you have business. We need to do away with the distinction between IT and business. We need to look at teams as one, and we need to embrace the agile spirit of togetherness. So we need to stop doing agile and we need to start being agile. Yeah. A lot of organizations, I know we've probably said it a few times today as well, that, oh, companies want to do agile. Agile is not something we do. It's who we are, what we do is a fixed mindset. So that's it.
Thank you very much. What other trends should we basically think about? Abdullahi, please go ahead. I'm just going to go for my screen, 1 minute for each person, you know, and then, so you're next.
Yeah, so I think Femi said it perfectly. Being a coach, you need to always think about mindset. And we've spoken a lot about changing mindset, but one thing we need to keep in mind is that we don't change mindset as an agile coach. What we do is we set the proper environment so the person who we are coaching decide to change his mindset. He decide to experiment new things, to fail on it, and then learn from that. So that's what I would say.
I love that, actually, and that's a very good thing to say. Agile coaches are actually people who are influencers of change, but not the necessary people who in the end change. You're successful as a Scrum Master, as an Agile coach, when the teams can actually trust you and feel safe in the environment that you've given to them to actually fail, iterate, improve, and continue to learn on their journey towards, you know, optimum perfection or whatever it is we want to call. Andrea, for you, basically, What do you think are one of the trends in Agile development?
I think everyone's pretty much said it when it comes to organizations, but I think people need to wake up to the fact that Agile is far-reaching beyond organizations. When I talk to my little niece who's 5 years old, things that she's describing to me that she's doing in school is based off of the Agile principles. I think we're going to have a time where there's going to be a generation that's going to meet our ideals within the organization that will then turn around and change society, change rules, change, and then change organizations on a whole, all the way from government, because they're already being raised Agile. So while we look at how can we change these organizations, just know that there is a generation coming up that already has this mindset. And so our work is not in vain. The seeds we're planting is now like there's going to be a meeting. There's going to be a collision of this generation and what we've done before. So I think if anything, it's up to us to be more brave outside of the four walls that pay us. We need to start instilling Agile within society, in our everyday lives, leading by example, because like I said, that generation is coming and we don't want that gap. We want them to take over and run with it and do better than what we are. So I actually see Agile, I wouldn't be surprised if in 20 years, they're not even calling it Agile anymore. Something else is gonna come.
I like that. So to that question, thanks, Andrea. To that question, I'm gonna come to you, Agbola. 20 years from now, 5 years from now, if there's a new trend, and we don't call it Agile, we have to go through the process of unlearning, first of all, the buzzwords and the framework and the processes and the principles, the new normal, the future normal. One of the things that you introduced was basically chaos engineering. And that was the generation of, basically, where we were, moving from, simple to complicated to complex to chaotic, and that's what Agile also was looking to fix. But in the new world that we're in, we're now talking about VUCA, which is basically volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. So how do we bring this new way of working and this new mindset in an ever so uncertain world, in an ever so complicated world with complexities, and in, places where the trend is now volatile. Today there's a crisis in Africa, tomorrow there's a fire in Asia or in another place, and we are actually meant to be thinking about how do we keep our organizations adaptive and able to change with the volatility that not just the pandemic, climate change, the world, you're seeing things around, gender rights, equality, and everything. How do we keep organizations thinking in terms of being ready using Agile?
Okay, thanks, Daniel. Another loaded question. I think you gave me a shotgun here. Yeah, I mean, on learning, because you see, there's nothing we're doing right now that hasn't been done before. I can tell you for a fact that this thing we call Agile was called something else in the 1920s, in the 1950s, in the 1970s. And it's what we've done is we've sort of crystallized all of our learnings, yeah? And we've now created what we know today as agility or Agile. And in the future, I can see it being called flow. I can see it being called attitude. I can see it being called lifestyle. You see, so what we have to do as human beings is just respond and react. And it's very, very simple. Without, just picking up what Andrea said, I just had goosebumps when you said that, it's almost like this pandemic created an opportunity for us to realize that we need to be agile. So if we now fast forward into the future, you see where already our mindsets have shifted. We're no more going to be in panic mode. We're going to be, oh, it's just another one of those things. Yeah, we'll just change what we do in a very subtle tone. We're not even trying to find a solution, because what we're going to do, we already know that we can fail fast. We already know that we can find options, opportunities. We can have conversations. We can deal with thought leaders who have, a mindset that would put us in that in that right place. So for me, in the future, I don't think it's something we need to be worried about. I think we need to be worried about the fact that we should be ready for the future, because I don't think right now, even in this panel, we're still trying to convince ourselves we're ready for now. But in the future, I'm not sure we're ready for that future coming. So that's my 2 pence.
Thank you so much. I actually really want to end this session on a high, so I'm going to be asking Sylvie also go ahead. This has really been fantastic, and I just really want to say how, you know, YouTube is trending right now, Twitter is trending, Instagram is trending, and that's because you are actually influencing the mindsets in how people should start thinking as to anyone can be agile, anyone can actually become agile, anyone can grow into agility, anyone can grow. Sylvie, I'm just going to bring this same question right now. You know, in this world we are in right now, people cannot travel, people cannot fly, you know, and like, you know, Agbola said, we're not quite ready for where we are. But then one of the things that we speak about is the sense of I mean, if you think about the 8, you know, the 8 reasons of change by, you know, Kotler, he speaks about, you know, a burning platform. You know, you either change, we always say the buzzwords, you either change or you die. You know, change or adapt or change, you know, you basically speak about, and there's so many trends coming on. There's the less, there's safe, there's DevOps, there's DevSecOps, there's so many things right now. There's Scrum, there's Kanban, there's Lean, there's everything. And like, you know, we rightly said, Agile may not really be new. It's just that the way we've labeled it with the wording. What would your recommendation be for people who are yearning for the very best of what Agile has to offer?
That's a really deep question. Well, speaking from experience, you know, what Agile has to offer is there's a lot of transparency, there's a lot of inspection, there's a lot of pivoting in a project. Agile as a whole, it gives us a lot of effort in seeing the mistakes that we are doing as a company or as an individual, where we are able to pivot and say, okay, well, that didn't work the last time. How about we add something to it? So it's like a mindset, you know. We have been practicing Agile in our daily lives without us even knowing that we're practicing Agile. Because when people hear the word Agile, they will freak out. They will say, this is new, I cannot do this. But you've been doing it constantly. Take, for instance, you're in the house, there's an occasion coming up. That's also a project. You have to come up with a list. What do? You write them down, maybe on a board, maybe on a sticky note, maybe on a piece of paper. After that, you gather with the family and you talk about who's going to take care of what. That's like self-organizing yourself, which is what the developers are doing. The self-organizers say, I'm going to work on X, Y, and Z, and I'm going to be cooking, I'm going to be cutting the onions, cutting the fruits, whatever it is, that's still the process of Agile. So we just need to have the mindset, think about it. And this is what I always tell people as a coach and as a consultant. This is what I tell my students. Agile, you've been doing Agile your whole life. Put it into practice every day and see for yourself the type of result that you're going to get. You want to cook for someone in an occasion. When you cook for someone, they're going to come and pick up the food. That's you delivering the project or the software to the customer, and the customers are going to eat the food, and when they like it, they're going to give you a feedback and said, who cooked this food? I would like to get more of this food from this individual. So we've been doing Agile without us even knowing, just like what Abdullah said. We just need to continue seeing it in that format.
Now you're making me very hungry, you know. You know, I'm sorry, I'm in London, so I miss actually having my pounded yam and for re-roll, you know, brocotor and all those things, you know, the edikai kong, all those African dishes, you know, the one that, you know, when you actually taste it, you know. So from a customer service perspective, I understand exactly when food is trending in Africa, jollof rice, hashtag jollof rice. Hey, that is basically where we're now thinking. So we're now thinking, okay, let's relate food to jollof rice. Nelly, based on trends and Agile, how would you say, you know, what is trending?
First of all, I'm glad you didn't introduce Jollof Wars on this forum because there's lots of Africans on the call. But no, I'm just joking. So as Andrea and Agbola were speaking, I just had a thought about, preparing for, it's almost future-proofing. We're using Agile for us to future-proof ourselves. And just a thought that came to me that I don't know if it's a trend, but I think all of us on this call who are Agile practitioners and Agile influencers should aim to do is to influence, if we have any touch points with government officials and policy makers, is to influence them to adopt some, even if it's just a tiny, element of being less risk averse and fail fast, or, the things that we talk about in Agile. And the reason this came to mind is just, I think everyone was caught flat-footed by this pandemic, understandably so, it's unprecedented and so on. But I think if the people in those positions had at least the mindset of agility, I think some of our countries could have handled this entire situation a bit better. So it might not be in the software development space, it might not be on a particular project, but just as Andrea said earlier, in your personal life, when you make your life, when you're agile in your personal life, then I think a lot of good can come out of that. So if it's not a trend yet, let's make it a trend in our daily interactions with different people.
I actually just love it. I could already see hashtag jollof rice, hashtag agile, hashtag influence, hashtag basically let's trend. So I'll just tell you that also go on our YouTube channel. Thank you to all the panelists. This has been a very fantastic evening. It's been great actually being, working and collaborating with each of you. The insights you've given, Nelly, to your point also, for those of you who are in places of power, places of influence, places of opportunity, how can we get organizations to be, less risk averse and then start looking at adopting, the mindset, the culture, and the way of working, and it's true. If I'll put it this way, one of the things that every country in the world right now is doing in terms of agility is being able to report on the number of COVID patients on a daily basis. As simple as that is agile. As simple as that is agile. And it's basically how do we react to change? If there's basically an increase, we lock down. If there's no increase, we let people fly. If there's a spike, we do this, And so governments are already doing agile. The next question right now is how do we take it to the next level? Governments are meeting daily in terms of the response on how people and organizations and businesses should change. Schools are meeting daily in terms of the response as to how they open schools and open opportunities so the kids can go back into learning. Companies are meeting daily in terms of the response of how we actually, and this is all agile. So I would say it's not magic. There's no formula. It's just all about, how do we actually improve little by little, bit by bit to see change and then also future-proof ourselves, whereby when change comes, we're able to survive and able to adapt. Thank you very much. My name is Daniel Dinner. It's been an honor and it's been a pleasure having each and every one of you. I look forward to a future series in 2021 on seeing exactly where we are. And I would say on behalf of the future of the Agile panelists and the viewers and everyone, this has been a wonderful evening. I would hand over right now to one of our facilitators, who I believe IT, or I'm not sure, or Carol, I think it's Carol. But thank you very much.
Hi, Daniel. I think you have a question, a Q&A question. Daniel, can you hear me?
Okay, so there's a question I've just got right now. Sorry, that just came through. I've just missed that here. Does Agile assume that everyone in an Agile team truly be self-organized, and are there people that work better under the command and control structure? E.g., the army.
May I take this question?
Yes, go on, Fadi.
Well, this is a very famous question. Uh, is people is doing things because they want, or we have to somebody with a stick behind them? I tell you, it's all about you as a team. It's all about how you build your culture. It's all about change. Everything is coming, and if you can go on and spotlight in your team and doing business, now you can't. We are in COVID, so keep learning and learning and learning, training them, have this agile mindset, then they will be self-organized. It's not um, a miracle. It's like a baby growing day by day.
Yeah, thank you very much. Anyone wants to add to this?
I think Daniel, I don't know whether people could see the response I gave to the person who asked the question. Is it visible to you? Okay, so I think it sums up what Fadis just mentioned. It's all about team cohesion. If one person within a team doesn't want to be self-organizing, it would impact other people in the team. In Agile, it's one for all and all for one. Earlier on, I was actually going to talk about designing a team alliance when a new team starts off. Right from the onset, you have to have working agreements. And one of the working agreements should cover your ways of working. How are we going to work together? So if you're not going to be able to work in a self-organizing manner, before you even get going, you have the opportunity to respectfully drop out from that team and go and look for another team where those values fit in perfectly.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you, Fadi. And yes, you wanted to go ahead, Pitts.
Yeah, I just want to say, yeah, I agree with Femi on that. Yeah, so most agile teams that we have T-shaped people or E-shaped people in it, which means, well, you've got a specialized area, the depth of your knowledge is going there. But in as much as you have that depth, we also want people who have that breadth, which means you can do a little bit of other things, especially when things, when the opportunity arises. So earlier on, we spoke about being having empathy for people. Someone who is a member of it, for example, someone who is a member of the team has a kid that she needs to attend to, and that person is the front end, coder. You can do a bit of it, of course, not as fast as the of the specialist, but do your bit. That's the breadth we are talking about. And then so it goes around that when these things are practiced day in, day out, we see the theme cohesion. And the starting point, just like Femi said, is having that social contract. I just finished one, even not with the team, with the leadership team. They called me to do that for them just because they want to continue to improve. So it is very important that, yeah, we have these in place.
Thank you very much. I was just going to wrap up with everyone and just to summarize what, Fadi and Pete and, Femi have said is, first of all, make sure the teams and what you're working on has a purpose, and then try to identify mastery within the team and then create the autonomy for the teams to now become self-organizing. So purpose, mastery, and autonomy creates the alliance. And that's how you actually look at building the values that everyone is speaking about here in terms of what do we really value? Do we value being actually able to cook jollof rice every week, or do we value actually delivering jollof rice every other week? Do we value talking about, jollof rice today? What is our customer base? What are we trying to do? And I'm trying to bring it back home, So if you're starting a new business saying, okay, I want to do takeaway in the pandemic, and then now creates an opportunity on Uber, where in the end, Uber Eats, I'm basically selling from my house, but at the same time, what do you value and how can you begin to build the opportunity? And seeing exactly, okay, well, I need utensils, I need electricity, I need this, I need this, I need this. Who are the kind of things? Think about how you improve. In Africa and in the Middle East, it is actually very, very fundamental that we get you to understand how to succeed. and how to succeed as an individual using Agile, but also how to succeed as teams or as team of teams using Agile and adopting Agile as a way of life, as a mindset, and as an approach to understanding how to be better than where we are yesterday. My dad used to always say something to me when I was growing up: if only the best is good enough for you, then do not settle for second best. So how do you keep being better than second best? Thank you very much. And it was a lovely, beautiful evening. I could see IT right now in Dubai, right, with her mask, social distancing.
Can you hear me then?
Yep.
Can you hear me? Okay. Hi guys. So this is IT on the streets of Diara. Actually, I want to say, Daniel, that your dad was actually right, not to settle for second best. And as far as the future of Agile is concerned, we have definitely not settled for second best, because our panelists have been spectacular. They have done immense justice to the topics. They have even looked into the crystal ball of what could be the possible outlook of Agile in the nearest future. I've heard names like Flow, different names. I'm probably going to write it down somewhere just in case in sometime in future I can tell my children and my grandchildren that, hey, at some time there was something, there was a prediction that this will come to pass. So this is where we appreciate all our panelists, from Sylvie to Femi to Abdullahi to Pete to Andrea to Alex, Nelly, aka Niniola, Agbola, Fadi. We say thank you from the streets of the Middle East. We are grateful that you did us this honor of being a panelist and doing immense justice to the final series of the future of Agile in Africa and in Middle East for year 2020. I cannot go also without saying thank you to the amazing Daniel Dina. You've done an exceptional job of, stringing everybody together, making sure we're all in the same page, somehow carrying us along and still being able to, give your own perspective on all the topics. You have just been simply spectacular. During the course of the four series, you have been a panelist, you have been a support moderator, you have been moderator. We cannot say thank you enough, Daniel. You are pivotal to the success of the future of Agile in the Middle East and in Africa year 2020. So thank you. I also cannot go off the streets of Dubai without saying thank you to our sponsors. They made this dream come true. Agile Alliance, Orchid Technologies, Gracious Travels. They are the reason why we're able to get here in Dubai. Business Agility, Abby Mentors, TK Consulting, and of course our host in the Middle East, Banking Payments and Context. To all the sponsors that believed in us, thank you. We hope to be much more than sponsors in the year 2021. Also would like to appreciate our ecosystem partners, IT Agile, Remote Forever, Team Retro, Sidmark, Agile People, Center for Agile Coaching, 3Line, Caleb Consulting, Access Bank, Agile Dads, Be Agile, African FinTech Foundry. Thank you all for making this dream come true. It has been an awesome journey so far. So it's me, IT, signing out for the year 2020 future of Agile in Africa and Middle East, right from the streets of the Middle East. So I'd like to hand over to Tunde and Tunde and Carol. Are you guys there?
Hey, IT.
Hey guys, what's up? All right, so I need to get into.
Show us around.
Oh, okay, sure. So let me give you a 360 tour. I think Union Station is Essential Station is to my That would be east of me, yeah. The Diera Malls and the Market Center is to my right. Right in front of me is one of the 5-star hotels that we have in this part of the Middle. It's called the, can you guys see that?
Yeah,
It's a Swiss hotel, yeah. Yeah, okay, all right. So that's what it is. Okay, so for those of us, that's what the taxi looks like. So this is nightlife go. So the future of Agile is done. I'm hitting the streets, go pop some champagne. Over to you guys. See you in 2021. Right. I love you all. Thank you. Bye.
All
right. Thank you, Live reporting. All right, fantastic. Welcome back, everyone. Thank you very much for attending this session of Future of Agile. And I, myself, and my co-facilitator, Carol, will be taking you through next steps. I just saw NSARS, so yeah, NSARS. Right, yes, NSARS, yeah. I mean, we're really behind the whole movement, and we just want to, also add our own support to the what should I call it, the revolution now, right? So we're adding our support to it, NSARS. Thank you very much. So let's go into next steps quickly. All right. Thank you very much for that. Okay. So very quickly, these are the next steps that you watch out for in the next few weeks, right? So we're having live case studies. Let's go take the live case studies will begin the week of Monday, the 7th of December 2020, where you will watch and listen as leaders from these organizations, which include Sigma Technologies Limited, Freeline, Freeline is a card organization, SimFix, Access Bank, AFF, that's the Africa FinTech Fabric, Deloitte, and MTN. Right? These organizations will talk about their agile transformation journey. Please join in and learn. Carol.
All right, thanks today, and thank you everyone that stayed with us from series 1 till now. We've had so many interesting discussions. Now, the future of Agile itself is really about sharing our stories, and we want everyone from all around the world to understand what is going on in the Middle East and in Africa. So we're inviting you to this platform and to visit www.thefutureofagile.org to submit your story. We understand that stories are powerful. Stories help us to connect to people's individual journeys, and they also help us to learn as well. So it is very important that we tell the whole world about what is going on in Agile in the Middle East and in Africa. So you're invited, whether you're an individual, corporate organization, whatever stage you are in your journey, please come online, submit your story. We'll be very happy to share it with the entire world. Back to you, Tunde.
All right, cool. So I just wanted to add one more thing to that. So when you submit your story, you get a swag bag and a t-shirt, a t-shirt. So it's a race to how many? I think we have about 10 to give out. Right? So it's a race to 10. You submit your story, you share your story, you get a swag bag and a t-shirt. Thank you.
Oh, nice.
All right. So also, yeah, no. It's really nice. I know a lot of people have been asking for it, so yeah, we're trying that in. Also, we'd like to call for blog contributions. People, you know, your blog writer, you want to say something, right? So please go to the Future of Agile website and please try to submit your blog post, and that will be share. We always like to learn from experiences, learn from people's views and where they're coming from, experiences, their mistakes and their successes. So this will help a lot of people to understand and see where we're coming from. So please go on the website, futureofagile.org, and share your blog stories as well. Thank you.
All right. Now, this is another exciting offer, right? From one of our very powerful partners, the Agile Alliance. They're a global non-profit organization, very interested in ensuring that Agile, becomes the transformation agent or the transformation platform that is meant to be. So we have an amazing exclusive offer open to those who are registered as participants of the Future of Agile, and you get to just pay a very paltry amount of $10 as opposed to $99. That is like a whooping 90% discount on membership. This is a one-year membership, guys. A membership that allows you to have access to so much material, resources. You get discounts on Agile Alliance events that are going on all around the world. You can attend virtually or physically. And also you can, just share information with other Agile enthusiasts and practitioners from all over the world. It's an amazing offer, and it's available to those that are registered as participants of the Future of Agile. So if you have not registered, well, I think you're right. You're sleeping on the bicycle. You really need to get on to this. Abi, what do you think, Tunde?
Yeah. Yes. So you're absolutely correct. Right. So it's not only the Agile Alliance one that we have, right? So we've also got the Business Agility exclusive membership offer, where you purchase a membership and you get a 50% discount, right? For everybody that has registered and attended our sessions. Right, so you can go to the link below. It's the Business Agility Institute or /join membership. And you can also send us an email, right, at the Future of Agile, right, or go to the Agile Advisor page and send an email to the Agile Advisor Africa, and you will get the link automatically. Right? Thank you. All right, Carol, we can't hear you.
Oh, sorry, guys. So, last but not least, you're invited again to subscribe to the Future of Agile YouTube channel. All the series are out there, guys. So if you've not been on that channel from series 1, don't worry. Just quickly go to YouTube right now, subscribe to our channel. You can watch all the series, all the way from series 1 to the series 4, and just binge on that. So just go to our YouTube channel, like, subscribe, share, tell everyone about this. This is a movement that is happening, and it's really going to change the face, or it has changed the face of Agile in the Middle East and Africa, and will continue to do so for years to come. Right.
Carol, you want to take this? Yeah.
Okay. Okay, great. So we would like you to share your contributions and suggestions with us. The whole idea is, we're not an island of knowledge. You've seen a lot of panelists that have spoken through the various series, but we don't know it all. At the Future of Agile.org. Send us a comment we're on Instagram, we're on YouTube, we're on Facebook. You can also visit the agileadvisor.com, either on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, all the social media channels, or send us an email at info@agileadvisor.com and share your information with us. We'll be happy to hear from you, happy to take in your feedback so that we continue to improve. That's one of the principles of Agile, right? Continuous improvement. So we want to be able to do that as well. So thank you for listening to us. And this is myself and Tunde saying, see you in 2021. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Carol. So we want you to also have fun. So this is having fun about, see what we do behind the scenes. So please go on the website, the Future of Agile website, /behind the scenes, and see all our pictures, videos about how the making of the Future of Agile. behind the scenes, how we play about, joke around, get serious, and get this all done. Right? So for me, I think it's the best feature of the future idea. Right? So please go there, look at what we've been doing, how we've done this, and see all our internet breaking videos and pictures, right? All right, thank you very much, everyone. We love you.
Thank you.
Thanks, us.
See you.
Thank you all very much. It's been a great pleasure.
Thank you, guys.
Looking forward to future collaboration.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you,
Uh,
everyone. Thank you.
Yeah, this
Bye.
is a great way to start my day. Have a good day.
Good.
Good night to you guys.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks, Daniel.
Fries. You're welcome, guys. I'm going to think about this Agile jollof rice now. Thank you. Have a lovely day. And it's a pleasure and an honor. Without saying much, I was just going to say we're going to wrap this right now. I believe, I don't know if Abby is online, the closing remarks from the chairperson. Yeah, Abby is here. So over to Abby.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much, Daniel Dina. Hello, every one of you. I would just like to say a very big thank you. Thank you very much for helping us gracing this sport series. I'm so really much, very much excited how far we've gone and how far things have been over the past few months. All the work that has gone through, the expertise, the ideas, the suggestions, the time people have put into this. It has been amazing. I just can't say thank you enough. You've heard it, our sponsors and our partners, they have been so amazing. And I'm just so I'm just so ecstatic right now. I don't even know where to begin. So basically, I want to say that we only just started. So we've only just started. So people have reached out to me and they said, Abby, how can we help? What can we do? We need to make this bigger and better. And so I'm happy to let you know that come 2021, by the grace of God, if we're all still alive, that we will be having 2 conferences. And one will happen in the month of May, and the second one will happen in the month of October. The future of Agile, the information, the details will be shared very soon. The save the date, I don't have the exact date for May. However, May will be taking place in Rwanda, and for as many that are able to fly, hopefully Corona and the rest of the whole pandemic stuff would have been over, fingers crossed. We will be live in Rwanda. Come October, we will be live in South Africa. This thing is, telling our story won't just end with what we've talked about in the past few months. There's just so much. And once we release our report come later on this year, people will be able to get the real information, like the real context of the message. It will be documented. It will serve as a reference point, and it will also help to point people in the direction that we want them to go. Having the right information and the type of support, the participation we need from them, like all of the activities we want them involved in. And so I'm happy to say that we are ending series 4, but we are only just started. We've only just started, and I just want to say thank you to every one of you, all of our panelists. Daniel Dina, you've been amazing as a moderator, sitting in there and doing fantastic, being you. I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. You're so selfless, right? My brother, Daniel Dina. Thank you, Agbo. Thank you, Femi. Thank you, Sylvie. Thank you, Abdullahi. Thank you, Andrea. Thank you. I'm trying to remember all the names. Alex. Thank you, Pete. Thank you, Christopher. Thank you, Fadi. Fadi the dancer. Thank you so, so much. I'm hoping I'm not missing out anyone from this list. And Carol, our facilitators, Carol, Eliana, IT, Tunde, Shoga. Oh my God, those guys, they're heaven sent, right? And I just want to say thank you. I'm missing one more person, Nelly, Niniola from Kenya, my brand new sister, African sister. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I know when we just had our conversations and all the things we have lined up for the rest of the year as well as next year, I can't just say thank you enough. Omo, who has also been one of our moderators in the past, saddled with so much work based on his new role at the bank. I'm just saying thank you to you. I know you can hear me. To all our participants that has been with us from Series 1, Series 2, Series 3, Series 4, all our panelists. I just can't say thank you enough. And you all know that you've been, all our panelists, you have been or will be invited to join our alumni community. So we have an alumni community that will be kicking off right after this. And it's going to operate like a Facebook, like a network. And on that, you will be able to do crazy, amazing things with the future of Agile moving forward under that umbrella. And so you guys just stay tuned, look out for it. What we have lined up for 2021, I'm not going to give you a sneak peek. The best I can do is to tell you that it's happening and the locations. You guys can't begin to imagine what this is going to become. I can't even myself, even though I can see plans, but I'm just too excited. And this would have been complete if we weren't in Dubai, at least to represent the Middle East. And so because of the pandemic and so many things, logistics, so we're going to be meeting with our partners here. And I'm sure you'll be seeing pictures very soon on social media and also on the behind the scenes. So there's a lot going on even right now. And all of you, your t-shirt is on the way. We're going to get it to you. And please encourage those that you know within your community to please share their stories, write a blog and talk about their experience. This is our opportunity to write our own story. Nobody's writing on our behalf, telling it as it is. The conversations have been mind-blowing today, and I'm so happy it's all captured live on YouTube. All of the series have. And so we are not parting ways, as you all know right now. There's so much that we still need you, and we're going to be counting on you for. And we're one big family, and I'm sure by now you all know that, right? I'm not going anywhere, you're not going anywhere. We have a long way to go by the special grace of God. And I'm just so excited to be able to do this fantastic thing, be on this journey with you all. You're amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
I thought we finished earlier. Sorry, I logged off earlier. I thought we're done. But I came back.
Oh, you're back now.
Yeah.
Yes. You guys should move forward. Move forward.
We're.
Hi. Can you see them?
Okay, move forward a bit more.
Yeah.
Move forward.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. We can see them going in and out.
I'm hearing them. I'm hearing. Bye.
All right.
Yeah, there's a video. So if you can just wait for like a minute, if you can. We're going to show a video right now, and if you can just stick with us for like a minute or two, I think that's the duration of the video.
Is there meant to be sound?
Yes, there is sound. Patience.
You may need to share using the Zoom and then say share with sound.
Yeah, we can't hear it on this side.
Again.
And it's a wrap. Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone.
Bye.
Awesome video. Well done.
Yeah, that was
Well
really
done. 4 parts. How many panelists altogether? Must be about 32.
More than that, yeah.
Yeah. Well done. Takes a lot of effort to coordinate and put it all together.
Well done, Abby.
Thank you all. We wouldn't have done it without you. Thank you very much.
So you set the standard for the next event, and next series has got to be twice as explosive.
By God's grace. So it's 1-day event. All our speakers and panelists will be in Rwanda, fingers crossed. So it's Rwanda and also going to be in South Africa those months next year.
Awesome.
Rwanda is secondum, so looking forward to that.
Okay.
If I can.
I'm happy to hear that. I'm happy to hear that.
All right. Nice one.
The reason to shake my passport, I haven't gone anywhere this year, so I'm looking using a couple of the pages next year.
I'm happy to hear
You're
that.
there. Waiting, anxiously waiting.
Hold on, guys. Yeah.
And so because we're live on YouTube, I want us to wrap this up and we can.
Oh, damn.
I can put up another Zoom call for us to.
All right.
Yeah, I don't want to say things. Yeah, because we're live on YouTube. I can't say anything. All right.
I noticed as well. I was like, okay, are we still live?
Yeah,
I'm not sure we have one behind the team. This is not planned. It's all fluid, so.